Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, we will be responding to a request to add a new region called EMEA to the system. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll be using SQL Developer for this. So double click. I've got a shortcut on my desktop. Once the SQL Developer has been launched, you need to connect to the schema, and the schema we need is the HR schema. The schema highlighted in green. So click on the plus sign, and then you are presented with a screen to log on. So type in HR in lowercase. That will be the password, and click OK. So once you're connected, you will have access to the editor window, which is this window here. So the request is to add a new region called EMEA. So what we need to do is look at the database tables and see if there are any tables called regions. So these are all the tables. And we have got one here called regions. So this is the table we'll need. So let's look at the table the way it is at the moment and look at all the regions currently in the table before we add any more. So to do that, we'll use a select statement. Do a select star. When you do an asterisk, that means it will bring back every record from the table. From is the table. So the name of the table is regions, which is this table here. So we are bringing back all the records. Select means bring back, asterisk means all records from this table. So let's run that and see. All right, so this is the record. We currently have 4 records. So there are 4 entries. We've got Europe, Americas, Asia, Middle East, and Africa. And we have had a request to add one more region called EMEA. Before adding a record to a table, it's best to look at the structure of the table so that you check if there are any constraints on the table. So to do that, we use the describe command followed by the name of the table and just execute. So this is what the table looks like. So it's telling us the table has 2 columns. One of them is a region ID and the other is a region name. The region ID here, there is a constraint. That means that value cannot be empty. You must insert a value, and the data type is a number. So this is a type of data, must be a numeric number, and it cannot be empty. The region name has no constraint, so you can leave that empty, but we wouldn't leave that empty because we have been provided a name for the new region. So now that we've got the table structure in place, we know that the region ID cannot be empty. We can now begin to add that new record into the regions table. To do that, we use the keyword insert into. So this is how you add new records into the database. These things I've shown up here are called IntelliSync. What that does, it kind of gives you a guide as to what you're trying to type. So it kind of like gives you a guide, so you can skip that. So insert into, and then I need to specify what table I'm inserting the data into. So the name of the table is regions. All right, and then on the next line, because I know that the region table has 2 columns, one is a region ID, the other is a region name. So to specify the data that will go into the columns, you use the word values, and then you place the values in parentheses. So there are two values that this column will take. That is two columns. The first is the region ID here. We've identified that from the table structure, and this value cannot be null. We know there are currently 4, so I'll just give this value a 5, and then I'll separate that by a comma, and then I'll now give the name of the new region, which is called EMEA. Because this is a string or a text, I need to enclose that in quotes. I don't need to enclose the numerical in quotes, because numbers don't need quotes around them. So this is correct. So the first value here is the region ID. It has to be a number, that is 5. Then separated that by a comma. The next value is the region name, and it can contain up to 25 characters. So this is the value. And then a semicolon to identify the end of the statement. So if I run this now, it should insert one row into the regions table. So I'll go execute. It says one row inserted. At this stage, I can roll back if I'm not sure, or commit to make it permanent. So I will commit because I am sure. So I've committed, so the details is now permanent. So if I run this script here on line 1 and 2, it will now give me a row of 5. Previously it was 4. So if I run that, see, so that is a new region that I've just added called EMEA. So we have successfully added the new EMEA region into the regions table. In this video, we responded to a request to add a new region into the region table. The region name was EMEA. What we did first, we looked at the current state of that table, and it had 4 rows with 4 regions. And then we also looked at a description of the table to identify if there are any constraints. And we identified that there was a constraint on the ID, on the region ID table. That means that table, that column cannot be null. So we had a constraint on the region ID column, which means the column, this column here cannot be null. We must insert a value. And the value we must insert must be a number. So we inserted 5 because the previous count was 4. So we inserted a 5 followed by the name of the new region, which is EMEA. And then we executed that. So this is how you would insert any data, regardless if it's 1 or 1,000 records. So this is how you would insert records into or add records into an existing table in a database. The values illustrates the number of columns in the table. So if you've got more than, for example, this table here only has 2. If you had 5 columns, you will specify 5 values here, and each of the value will correspond to the column in that order. So this 5 corresponds to this region, this EMEA corresponds to the region name, and so on. So thank you so much for watching. I hope the video has been helpful. Take care and bye for now.